Well, good afternoon and welcome to Linda Sue Plants for You. I'm, as promised, going to be bringing you a video today on some propagating. Pretty simplified though. This plant I showed you in my last video is my Purple Passion, and it's out of control. And my girls are both wanting some of this, so I'm really happy about that. So I'm going to take cuttings from this and I'm going to show you how I do that. And then we're going to take cuttings from the Coleus as well, because I still have people asking me about that. So hopefully you'll be able to see good. And let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is remind everybody that before you take cuttings from this plant, if you water it real thoroughly the day before, your cuttings have a much better chance of surviving, because then the water is up in the leaves and in the stems, and they don't have to work so hard to support themselves. So that I found to be a critical step in this, with this plant especially, but in most plants, but especially with this one. So as you can see, hopefully, this strand here is about 3 feet long, and I'm going to be cutting that up. I got a lot of plant here, my friends. And I wanted to show you this too. I'm not, can you see this one here? Yeah, you can. This one didn't quite make it. There's still some living leaves on it, and I could probably nurse it back to life. But because I have so much here, and they're all doing so well, I'm not even going to bother with this. I'm going to just pull this right out. It's got a pretty good root system on. But like I said, I've got so much already, and I don't like to keep things around that are in this kind of condition, because it attracts pests, and we don't need any more of those problems. I don't know what is going on, because, you know, for many, many years I had houseplants and I never had any kind of pests. And I think I mentioned this once a long time ago, but years ago we had what were called cyclamen mites, and we used to get rid of those. They would live in the soil and they would feed on the roots of the plant. We'd get rid of them by putting it, I'd take a big bucket of water and half and half pipe tobacco, one package, and we'd soak that in the water. And then you take your pot and you set it down in that water until it soaks everything up, and the idea was you wanted the water level to be above your soil level. Not above the pot though. You don't want that water, you know, dripping over into the pot. So if you can picture what I'm trying to say here without me having to do a demonstration, you set that pot down in that water, and the water comes up from the bottom of the pot, and it will go above the soil level if you have the water deep enough in the bucket. And then the cyclamen mites or whatever was living in there would float to the top, and they couldn't get out, and that's how we handled it. The only time I've ever had problems with whitefly or aphids were outdoors, my roses especially, and that was a challenge every year to keep those healthy. But I've never had so many, not just me, but other people's videos that I see that are, you know, talking about the, you know, thrips and aphids and mealybugs and all of those things, and we just didn't have those years ago. So I don't know if it's because we're importing so many plants now, both for indoors and out, and maybe they don't have their natural predators here. I don't know. I know I worked for a pest control company many years ago, and one of the things that happened was they had introduced the Asian lady beetles. They look like ladybugs, but they're not. And they introduced them because the aphids were eating the potato crops of the big farm, producers. What they didn't think ahead on was once they quit eating those, where are they going to go? So we had horrible problems with those for years. And I don't know if they got them under control. I haven't seen many of them, but those were bad. They bite. They look like ladybugs, but they're not. But they're a different type, and they bite. And they did not have a natural predator for those. So I don't know what they did with that. But anyways, there I went off on my side road. Okay, so I'm gonna just get rid of this. And I know some of you are probably going, "Oh no, don't throw it away." But really, I just don't want to deal with that. So we're going to get rid of that. And this we're going to chop up because I want to take some cuttings. And I'm going to start. I want to make sure you can see this. I got to turn the whole thing around, I think. Okay. Bear with me. Okay. This is very long. This one's about a foot long, and you can see how healthy and beautiful the leaves are. They're just gorgeous, and they're very thick and very soft. So I am going to cut this way down at the bottom because I want it to get full. I don't know. I'm cutting it right above where there is a leaf coming out. Okay. And I'm going to take a couple more, and then I'm going to get this out of our way. This I hope you can see all that. It's very, very long. Now normally we would have this in a hanging pot, and we would love to have something like this hanging out of there, right? But I don't have it in a hanging pot, and I want to keep this where I have it because I enjoy being able to give people cuttings from this. And the more I cut off, the thicker it gets, so I'm not hurting it by any means. So I'm going to cut that one off, and I'm going to do that. This one I'm going to do right about, I don't think you can see what I'm doing here. Well, alright, I think I'm going to have to move the camera a little bit maybe. Or you know what, I'll just stand up and do this part. I want to make sure that you guys can see what I'm doing here, because I know so many people have had questions about it. If you can see, you see that, okay? You can cut anywhere along this vine, but I like to do it right above a leaf, a leaf node, I should say, because that's where it's going to branch out again, and I don't want that stem sticking up out the top. So I think, where do I want this to go? Let's see. This is going to take some thought. Well, I think this can go up here yet and still be okay. So let's try this one. this one I'm going to cut. I think we're going to do it right here. Now new growth is going to come out right there where I cut it. And this other piece we're going to cut into smaller pieces and put in the pot. All right. And I've got another one. And this one's coming out the top here. You can see how it's sticking out. I don't want it to do that. Now if I leave it, it'll just eventually fall down and it'll cascade. But I don't want to do that yet. So I'm going to cut it probably right here. Because I want that to fill up the top of this trellis. I do want it to fill in a little more, but I don't want it to overgrow the whole window. So I'm going to try to get this up here without breaking it. One of the problems is when you do water it, it'll make your vines more brittle, stiffer, and more easily to break. So you might want to be a little careful about that. Okay. Now I got another piece. And remember, I'm giving these to my daughter and granddaughter. So it really doesn't bother me to cut them. And this plant grows so fast and healthy that I just don't need to worry about it. Okay, now let's turn this. And if you can see on this side, I've actually got some that's hanging down here pretty long. I'm not sure if I want to cut that or not, but I probably should, because where I have this sitting, it's not going to get light. So I probably should. Yeah, I'm going to. And that'll make the branch, as it's coming out of the pot, much thicker too. That's the great thing about this plant. It grows fast, and really I haven't had any pest problems with it, thank goodness. Alright. And we've got a little bit more here. I kind of just want to get this up here. And then we've got these. A little couple, one or two dried leaves under there, but not bad. Time for spring cleaning, right? That's kind of what we do. Let me make everything fresh and new and clean. And okay. Now this one, I think maybe I want to leave that yet. I'm not sure. What? Now, let's see how many I have, if I got enough to make 2 pots. The reason I'm hesitating is because these are not quite, I mean, I could put them in the pot, but the thing is, you don't want the leaves to touch the soil, so there would only be like 2 leaves left on them if I did that, and I don't think that's going to be, I don't think it's going to be a good thing. So, alright. I'm pretty sure my daughter said she didn't want it in a hanging pot because she wanted to put it on the table. So we're going to make her a regular, I'm just going to use a nursery pot for now because I'm getting to the point where I'm thinking I'm going to use these nursery pots more often and just put them in inside of my clay pots and glazed pots and plastic. I really love my clay pots, but they dry out so fast, and because I have to use distilled water, we're going through a lot of it, and it's kind of silly for me to do that. And so I'm trying to rethink things here for my own ease of taking care of my plants. And I'm going to fill this with water. And I thought I had a gallon sitting here, but I don't. I must have used it. So I'm going to go grab one and put water in here so that when I put the cuttings in, they will stand up straight. I think I'm going to have to learn to make myself a checklist before I start recording of what I might need, because it seems like every video I do just about, I forget something. Alright, and this is distilled water, glacier mist distilled water. And this soil is very dry. It's been, you know, exposed to the elements here for a long time, so there's no moisture whatsoever in here. So sometimes it takes a little extra to get it to absorb. But that's okay. I hope you can see that now, right? All right. So what I want to do here is I want to just poke some holes in the soil. You know, sometimes we're tempted to just shove it down in there, but that's not a good habit to be in, because you can damage that stem trying to get it down in the dirt, and sometimes that's when you saw that first piece that I threw out, it could have been from that. The stem was damaged, so it wasn't soaking up the water, and that does happen now and again. But okay, so I'm going to start at the bottom here, and as you can see, there's quite a few leaves on here. Now the sad thing is we have to cut some of those leaves off, because if we leave them on there, they'll be sitting in the dirt and they'll rot and they'll cause all kinds of problems. So I'm going to just pluck these off with my fingernail if I'm able. Sometimes I need a scissors, but today it's working. And I know that looks like a lot, but you know, these grow so fast. And you want to try to get enough of this stem in the soil to support what you're putting in there. So I'm not going to cut the top of this, and that's unusual for me. Normally I would cut it again in half right here, and then I would take this leaf off and stick this one in here. But we're in the heavy growing season for this plant, so I'm not going to do that. I think it's gonna be okay just like this. I guess we'll see. This is kind of a test for me, actually, because I don't normally plant them this long, usually about half the size. But we're going to try it, and let's see what happens here. Yeah. I don't know. I'm having second thoughts, actually. I think that's going to be too long. I'd hate to lose this whole piece because I left it too long. You know what? I'm going to change my mind here. I'm going to cut this, and it'll be like right about there. Yeah, that's better. Make a little hole. Just stick it down in there. Make sure you press firmly. I mean, not real hard, but firmly, because you want to get all the air bubbles out. All right. And once again, just remember, and there's not an exact science to this. You know, if you cut it anywhere along the stem, it's going to be the same thing. I'm just showing you how I do it for the most optimum growth. And I'm thinking right here would be a good spot, right above this leaf. But now we have to take this leaf off of here, because you probably could root that, but I would be very leery. I would much rather take this leaf off and then have that node down in there. And that's really how I have the best luck with these, is about this size. So I don't usually do them too much longer than that. But I'm anxious to see new videos of everybody, of their growth that they had, if any, over the winter, and their new plans for the summer. And I really enjoy watching other people's videos and things that they plant. I know Susie from Suzette from Suzette's Gardens just put out a couple on her garden, her bulbs that she overwintered. So if you are new at that, that's a good one to watch. I know Pammy's Planty Things just did a video on her Hoya collection. And I thought that was pretty interesting. I've never been a big Hoya fan, but they are starting to grow on me, and I do have some that I like. My favorite, I think, is my my crimson princess. I've got a bunch of that. But Hoyas, I don't know, I've never really been that attracted to them, but like I said, they are growing on me, and I see some people have just beautiful specimens of that, so. Alright, I think that's, let's see, 1, 2, yeah, we got 4 pieces here. I think that's going to do it for this one. Now, new growth is going to come out everywhere. If I cut it on the top, the new growth will come out here too. So, in all reality, once that starts, then whoever gets this plant could, once you get new growth at the top here, just take and cut anywhere above one of these leaves, stick that back in the soil, and that's what I did with this plant. I mean, the big mother plant that I have started out with a 4-inch piece. Just a tiny little snippet. So, you know, and it's not millions of years old either, so they grow very fast if they're getting good lighting conditions. And so let's see what happens. All right, that would be for one, and these are all leaves. And I never did try to propagate these, and I'm not sure. I don't believe you can. Probably something I should try just to cure my curiosity, but we'll do that next time, because right now I've got so many things I absolutely have to take care of with my plants. Yeah, okay, I'm going to make a hanging pot here for my granddaughter wants the hanging one, so that's what we're going to do. And this is just my normal potting mixture. Most of you are familiar with that. I don't like to go over it every time I do a video. If you aren't familiar, you can go back and watch my other videos. Okay. Now I'm going to take off these bottom ones again, once again. Sometimes it's hard to do, especially when they're so healthy. It's hard to break them off and throw them away. Yeah. Okay. I think I told you guys in one of my other videos how much I used to love playing in the mud when I was little. Some things we just never outgrow. Okay, here's one. Put it down in there and then press down, make sure that the whole stem is contacting the dirt. Not that you have a hair pocket in there, because then it won't get watered. Alright. Well, this one is really long. It's about 1.5 feet long. But you can see how it was getting kind of leggy, and that's because it wasn't getting enough light. This piece was actually stuck up behind my curtain, or I should say in front of, so it wasn't getting the same amount of light as the rest of the plant, so that had to come off anyway. So we're going to just utilize that. And I think we're going to cut that right about here. And take this leaf off. So we got about this much of plant. And stick that down in there. And I was wondering, I was curious, we have been getting a lot of early signs of summer, things that don't normally bloom at this time of year are blooming. I think I told you, or I started to tell you in one of my second to last video, I think. I was sitting out on the porch with my hubby, and I felt something bite me, and it turned out to be a mosquito. And I didn't think a whole lot about it because it was just one mosquito. But within less than a minute after killing that mosquito, I looked down and there were like, I don't know, 30, 40 mosquitoes flying around my legs. And this was, I think this was like 2 weeks ago already now. Week and a half, something like that. I could not believe it, folks. It's April. We could feasibly still get a snowstorm here in Wisconsin. And there the mosquitoes were. And I said, oh boy, if that's a sign of things to come, we're going to have a year like we did last year. And that was not good, folks, because we couldn't even sit out on our porch. And I lived for that all winter, to get outside and sit on my porch, and I can't. The thought of not being able to do that is too much for me right now, so I'm trying not to think about it, but I just wanted to share that with you and see if you guys are seeing anything like that where you live. I have had a couple of people tell me that certain plants are coming up that don't normally come up at this time, or whatever. They're seeing strange things. So I don't know if that's a sign of that we're going to have a early spring or summer, which would be okay, as long as it doesn't go from being winter to 90 in the shade with 100% humidity, because that's horrible. Nobody likes that, I don't think. At least nobody I know. So let me know if you've had any weird, early signs of, unusually early signs of things going on. Alright. Whoops. Oops. Okay. I think I'm going to take a few more snippings for this one because the pot's a little bigger and it looks a little bare. So I think I will, from the mother plant. I can afford to let go of some more of this. It's not going to hurt my plant. It's just going to make it grow fuller, so that's okay. Alright. And where should I do it? Let's take it from here. The back of here. There we go. And that'll leave me a good amount left on my mother plant. And it'll give me a nice full pot to send along. I'm so happy that my girls are into plants now, because It's really nice to have things in common with your kids, and that's something that we can share, you know, swap stories. I get a kick out of my granddaughter. She's got a Croton, which she... I was with her when she got the first one, and she said, well, should I get this one, Grandma? I said, well, you can, but they're very fussy. They're easy to kill. And she really wanted it, so she got it, and she was so proud of herself because she kept it alive for so long, and it was growing, and then all of a sudden something happened, and I think she knows what she did, but I'm not asking. But it kind of, it started to decline, and I think eventually she lost it. So, she bought another one, and she's bound and determined to keep that alive. And I said, well, I wish you luck, honey. I said, I had a couple of those in my lifetime, and they were just too fussy for me. And so she was over the other day, and she was so excited and carrying on about how big it is and how the roots are coming through out the bottom of the pot, and I could just feel her excitement. And I know that it's important to her. Well, not only because to keep it going, but to be able to tell her grandma, me. And so I was really happy for her. Anyway, okay. I'm rambling now here. I really don't like the way this one looks here. Don't like that at all. Well, we'll leave it alone for now. If it doesn't get any better looking, I can always pull it out of there. But anyways, here's one. Okay. This is going to be for my granddaughter. And I know she'll be happy to get that. I'll set that aside. And then this one for my daughter. I'm going to stick one more in there too for her. This is a very thick, healthy. And like I said, the more that you cut these plants back, the thicker their stems get. So if you want a healthy purple velvet with thick stems and thick leaves and lots of color, don't be afraid to cut it back. Alright, I've taken this much off. Can you see that? Hopefully. Okay. And we're going to stick that in there. I got the sun shining in here, and it's hitting a spot on the floor, and it's reflecting it right up into my eyes. Maybe I gotta go put on some sunglasses. That would be a first. I need sunglasses in the house. I don't know what it's bouncing off of, but my goodness. It's a blinding light. Okay. There we go. That looks better. Alright, so let's wish me luck on those. Alright, I'm going to clean up my mess here, and then we'll pull the Coleus over. I'm going to pause you for a moment. Alright. I need to wash off my tools. I like to do that in between in case there's some kind of bug or disease or anything. You don't want to transfer it from one to the other, one plant to the other. So, all right, these. This makes me sad because these are such beautiful Coleus. They get really deep dark purple, and no matter where I put them in my house, I couldn't get them to do that. Now, I know if I put them in my east window they would, but I didn't have room for them there. So I put them under a light, which helped, but they're not very, they're still not looking the way they should. So they're kind of long and spindly, and I want to make them full. So I'm going to do pretty much the same thing that I just did with my purple velvet. And it's the same principle, really. You know, wherever you cut, that's where it's going to branch out. So if you want your fullness of your plant, now I don't know if you can see, there's a tiny leaf down here that is connected to this stem. And I'm going to see if I can't get this to branch out from there. Now this is a long one I'm cutting off here, but I'd really like this to start getting thick down there closer to the pot. So we're going to snip that off. And see, there's no leaves here, so I don't have to cut anything off of this. That's plenty enough to root. You can see there's nodes here. And there and off the bottom is where I'm going to get my roots. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3, and we're done. This does not take long. And that's another fun part about the Coleus. You can really make a lot of plants out of one plant, if that's your goal, or make your one you have thicker. And this one too, it's not broken, but it's hanging down. So I'm going to just cut that right there. I am going to take this leaf off of here because I want more, because there's so much up here to support, we need a little more stem. And I think that'll be about right there. Hopefully you can see all that. Okay. And we're going to stick that guy in here. Wow, I'm running into some roots. Don't want to wreck that. That's a dead stem. Do you guys ever feel bad when you let something go and you have a consequence because of it? And you know that you could have avoided it if you just would have addressed it sooner? And I hate that when that happens. And that's pretty much what I'm dealing with here. This should have been done a while ago, and I just wasn't able to get to it, so. Okay. And I'm going to cut the top one, too. And this one I'm going to cut right here above these 2 leaves. Yeah, with the Coleus, you really want to try to get it where there's 2 leaves. These 2 leaves that are coming out here, I don't know if you can see, and then I'm going to cut right above those. And we're going to take a couple of those leaves off the bottom here. And that's what we're left with, and that's what's going in the pot. And judging by the size of these leaves, I'm pretty sure this is going to grow pretty fast. It's going to adapt. And it'll be nice and full and beautiful when it's time to put outside on my porch. And that's what we got there. And I'll probably maybe have to do this one more time even to get it even fuller. But we'll see. So that's that one. And this one. Let's just take a good time to check the soil and take out any dead debris in there. I know some people, I've seen some people say they leave that in there because it decays and it's like compost, but I'm of the mindset that that's probably not a good thing to do, because it will, it might be good compost, but the fungus gnats love it, and I don't know why, but I'm really having problems with those this last year. Not so bad now. I see one once in a while, and I was inundated with them, but I don't know where they came from, so that was... I mean, if you know what the problem is, you can take care of it, but if you don't know where it's originating, that's frustrating. Alrighty. I think we're good. See, you can see how this was actually stretching out to get toward the light here. Oh, look at that. Just the little bit of roots on there. We're gonna bury that down in there further. There's so many different types of Coleus. I know Lowe's has a really pretty good selection in the spring. I don't know if they will this year with the COVID thing going on, but they usually have a really good selection. And okay, and this plant too, it's so leggy. I really want to get it full, and so I'm going to do a drastic cutting on there. I'm going to go above these leaves and cut, and I think I'm going to cut these off. And that's the piece, and make my hole. And stick it in. That looks better already. All right. Here we go. Try to find a bare spot down in that soil. You know, I wonder how everybody is weathering this storm here of life right now that we're going through. I'm myself, hasn't been a big lifestyle change for me because I'm housebound most of the time anyway, so it hasn't been hard for me to stay at home. But I know for people who are out in the working world and people who have kids, I can't even imagine the struggles. I know my daughter has a 9-year-old, and she was getting a little frustrated there a few days ago, and she's doing the best she can, but it's hard. It's hard to be a teacher and a mom and a art teacher and a math teacher and a spelling teacher and all that. Hard. And when the kids can't even go out and play to, run off some of that steam, built up, pent up energy, it's even harder. And I know my granddaughter, her daughter, was outside playing one day in the front. And there were a few other kids out there, and they were keeping their distance. My daughter stayed out there with them to make sure that they did. I forget what they were playing, but it was some game where they didn't have to, touch each other or touch the same ball. So they were following the rules. And some guy went by. I'm going to call him a jerk because that's what he was. Sorry, but that's how I felt when she told me the story. And he was cussing at him and yelling at him to get in the house. And I thought, good grief. You can't keep a child under the roof in a house 24/7. It's not possible. It's not healthy. They have to get out. They have to play. They got to run. They need sunshine and fresh air. And I know that's hard to do, especially when you got a lot of neighbor kids around, because they all they're used to playing together. They don't understand this. They're too young. And so I just feel bad for them too. All right. I think that's pretty good. Still kind of spindly looking, but I think we're just going to leave it. These are not really thick enough, I don't think, to... I mean, they might root, but chances are they might not, because they're just not mature enough yet. Like you can see on these, the stems are a lot thicker. They're more woody. So I think we're going to stop right where I'm at with that. And I'll bring you an update, okay? But I think we're going to just leave that for now. All right, and we have, I have I have one more plant here that I have to repot, but I don't think I'm going to do that. This is already getting long again, and I have to repot this goldfish plant. I'm watering it every other day, and as you can see, it needs water again, and it's very dried out, and I think I've got one goldfish on the whole thing because it's not getting enough nutrition here. So this is probably going to be about a half-hour project for me. I got to find a good pot, good sized pot, and well, I guess there aren't any really no dead leaves on it or dead branches. That's good. Maybe it won't. But I'm not going to do that on camera because all I'm basically doing is taking it out of this pot and putting it in a bigger one. So I'll just save that for later. But I do want to thank everybody for their patience with me, and I really enjoy doing these, like I said, and I get frustrated when I'm not able to, and even when I am able to, sometimes I get such horrible brain fog that I get stuck on words that I know by like the back of my hand, and I know for some people that's frustrating, and I apologize if you're one of them, but there's nothing I can do about that. So just bear with me, please, and enjoy the plants, and whatever information I can help you, that's, maybe helping you with something maybe that you didn't know before. I mean, I learned something almost every video I watch. I learn something new. I really pay close attention to what they're saying, and I've gotten a lot of really good information from my other plant friends on YouTube. So I encourage you to you know, do that, and you know, watch other people, and comment if you have you know, questions. Please feel free to ask. If I know the answer, I will give it to you. If I'm not sure, I will not steer you in the wrong direction. I will tell you I don't know if I don't know. But there are a lot of things that I do know that I look at as just, I've been doing it for so long that to me it seems like basic information, and I forget to say it when I'm repotting, and then people will comment and say, you didn't say anything about how much light to give it or what kind of light, and I apologize for that. That just comes from assuming that everybody already knows that. So I'm going to try really hard to make give you more details about each plant when I repot them, and hopefully that will be more helpful to you. And other than that, I hope that you all enjoy your day, and I hope you can get through the rest of the week without too much anxiety. I know a lot of people are very, very anxious right now, and rightfully so, but just hang in there. This will all be over soon. We're going to be okay. We've been through this before, not quite the same thing, but this country has been through some horrific things, and we've come out, you know, flags flying and smiles on our faces, and I think, you know, it's going to happen again. We just have to be patient. All right, and in the meantime, if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. That would help. It helps me. And if you are not subscribed already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you want to be notified when I do a new video, you got to hit, after you hit the subscribe button, it'll give you a choice of all, personal, or none. And all is what you want to hit. And then that will let you know every time I put up a new video. And you can choose to watch it or not, but at least you'll know it's there. Alright, so you all have a good rest of your day, and hopefully I'll be able to come back again before the week's out. I do have a lot of things going on here that need to be done, and I want to share them with you, so I hope that you all come back, and that's it. Alright, thank you. Bye now.